What's happening, hobby people? My name is Jacob from the Dry Paint Pot, and it is so good to be behind the camera again because it's been a hot minute since I've recorded a video. Things have been crazy. Let's talk about them real quick. So, if you remember my last video, sorry about that, hold on. Okay, so if you remember my last video, you know that I was talking about trying to get a new job, and I did get the job. I didn't want to tell what it was just in case I didn't. But I am now teaching at a middle school near me. So it's very exciting to be a teacher, to start a new career. And considering I just got out of school not too long ago and now I'm jumping right into something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. It's very exciting to finally be here and be doing it. With that, I've been exhausted. It's been crazy. I didn't know how insane teaching was going to be. And I'm usually up at like 5:30 in the morning. I get home around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. And then I'm usually getting all my work ready for the next day. I'm doing lesson plans, making my lunch, cleaning, ironing clothes, like the whole thing to get prepped for the next day. A lot of just grading and lesson plans because I did start after the semester already began. So I'm getting to bed at like 10 o'clock at night, and then I'm starting all over again. I'm literally just passing out the minute I hit the bed. So not only am I a new teacher, but I'm also starting in the middle of this semester, so it's been very difficult. Very, very difficult. There's a lot for me to learn, and with that, it's just taken up all of my time. But I didn't let that stop me from hobbying because I had a challenge, and I could not turn it down. Check this out. So my buddy over at Minimaltabletop went ahead and sent me that challenge. It's the Drawer Rescue Challenge. Let me make sure I say it right. Yeah, the Drawer Mini Rescue Challenge. And what that is you take two minis that are just floating around in your drawer, two things that you just haven't gotten to or you started and never finished, and you got to kit bash them. You got to chop them up to pieces. I think you have to use 50% of each model when you put together your final model, and I think no more than 20-25% of green stuff. I can't remember. I did it last week. I had all the rules set then. But it was absolutely crazy. And it was so fun. I couldn't turn it down. Especially considering the week was so insane with like starting to teach. It was really nice to take a break and just spend 24 hours building and painting. So that's the thing. 24 hours on the clock. You have to keep your clock in all your shots. You can record for videos, you can live stream, which I did live stream. Thank you for everyone out there who joined that stream. It was a blast. And yeah, you just go at it 24 hours to convert those minis and paint them up. Now, mine took, I think, upwards to 10 hours, I think, something like that. You'll see it all in a minute. But real quick, before I keep talking about all of this, if you can see behind me, that's my new cat. Not only how I started my new career with teaching, I decided to get a pet. And I've never owned a cat before, but Ashley and I decided that it was time to get something in this house. So we adopted him literally last night. I'm exhausted if you can't see the bags under my eyes. So like half of this is teaching and the rest of it is just keeping up with this cat. But he is an absolute blast. His name is Theo. I would grab him to bring him a little closer, but you know what? All right, so this is Theo, aka, oh, there he goes, Theodore Rockefeller, aka The Rock, aka Dwayne Johnson. So he's my new little hobby buddy, and he's going to be showing up in some of these videos, hopefully not getting cat hair all over my models because that would suck. But back to the challenge. So we had this challenge going on. It was so much fun to participate in, and I was able to record a ton of footage, so I'm so happy to be able to have all of that so I can put it together and show you the process to building this insane creation. Now, I don't think I followed through with all the rules correctly, and I'm pretty sure that he won because it was a challenge, and we're gonna have people vote on whose model's better. But with mine, I sort of decided to take it in a little bit of a different direction. Instead of building one solid model, I decided to do a sort of like diorama piece. And although I don't think I won this challenge, I had so much fun, and honestly, I'm super proud of what I did. I think I put together something really, really cool. Now, one more thing before we check out that footage. I just want to thank all of you for being so patient with me. I know that my schedule has been all over the place, and I'm trying to like get my whole life together, and now with the cat and with this new job, it's been insane. But I promise you, the hobbying is not stopping. The videos will keep coming. It might take me a little longer, and for my patrons out there, I just want to thank you so much for sticking around and, you know, just again being patient. But I'm gonna find a way to make this better, I promise you. Especially now that I'm starting to get the hang of teaching, now that I know how to, you know, get my grade books balanced out and how to create assignments and just teach a lesson altogether. Now that I have all that together, I think things are going to be a lot smoother, and I think my weeks are going to open up tremendously. So, without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's check out the Drawer Mini Challenge. Good morning, hobby people. As you hear, I've got my microwave going. Breakfast is being made. I've got coffee brewing at the same time. It's 8 in the morning, which isn't too early, but I've been up since like 6. It was a long day yesterday at work, so I basically laid in bed from like 6 to 7:30, just relaxing, you know, enjoying my morning. So as soon as everything's done, I'm running right at the table, gonna start chopping stuff up, get to that converting, and then as soon as I'm done converting and everything dries, it's time to start painting. So get everything started over here, and then yeah, get to it. All right, so I'm here at the desk. I have 24 hours on the clock on this old iPhone that I've got. I didn't have a timer, so I figured this will do. I've got that all set. I've got bits, my materials, some green stuff. I'm gonna need a lot of that. And then the models. So the models in particular that I chose to rescue, if I can get some better light onto them. There we go. So I've got these mystery marines now. I got these like 2.5 years ago, and they've just been sitting. I built them, and they've been sitting in a drawer, collecting dust. And the reason why they look so grubby and all messed up is because I primed them, but when I did, I actually just primed them with Abaddon Black, which was a terrible idea. I don't know why I thought about doing that. Well, I'll tell you why. I was airbrushing and thinking, well, I'll just prime a bunch of models with my airbrush and save some time, not knowing that I should have run some primer through my airbrush and not just the paint. So yeah, I tried scrubbing them and getting as much as I could off, but this is what they're looking like. So I'm just gonna leave them as is. I'm gonna chop them up, and we're gonna do a really cool conversion. What I'm thinking about doing, just to give you an idea of what's gonna happen today, is taking this base right here, building a decent foundation, and then taking one of these Marines and having him ripped apart by a Tyranid, like all shredded up, limbs missing, maybe some entrails, blood everywhere. And then I want to put a flyer stick right through the chest and have this kind of like ghost Marine going up to the Emperor or wherever they go afterwards. So yeah, that's the idea. Now, it's not technically the rules for this contest. The rule was to take 2 models, and I think it had to be like 25% of the model can be green stuff, and the half of it had to be the bits from the other model, something like that. We were supposed to build 1 model, but I had this idea, and I'm like, you know what, if I'm gonna put all this time into it, at least I want to make something that I want to make and that's going to be fun. So even if I don't win this because I don't follow the instructions perfectly, I'd rather just do this because this just sounds like it's going to be really fun, and it's something that I've been thinking about for a while, especially when considering this contest. So yeah, let me throw this camera up top real quick, get everything set, hit the timer, and we'll go at it. I started things off by working on the base. I use corkboard often, and I usually cut it to perfectly fit the base, but since this is more of a display piece, like a diorama rather than something I'll be playing, I decided to keep the edges rough and let it hang over a bit. If you're wondering what type of glue I use, it's called Loctite Gel Control, and it's my go-to. I've been using this stuff for over 3 years, and it works like a charm. The hold is strong and you never have to worry about dripping. It was time to disassemble the first Marine. He's supposed to look like he's been torn apart by a Tyranid, so limbs needed to be chopped off, his torso had to be split open, and the armor needed to be worn. Okay, now this next part is kind of gross, so be prepared. I did warn you.
Yeah, that sucks. Ouch. I gotta get this figured out. It's gonna be a minute, so I'm just gonna let the clock keep running and yeah, get this cleaned up. Okay, well, I got that slice of my finger taken care of, but this is gonna make things really difficult with trying to add some cuts and scratches in these models, so hopefully I don't end up, yeah, this is gonna be dangerous. I was gonna say, hopefully I don't end up cutting this finger, so I need to take my time with this and figure out how I can try to cut these models up without slicing something else open. I really need my thumb, so yeah, well, I'll just have to see what happens, I guess. So don't mind if I'm not holding the model up to the camera, because it's kind of hard for me to hold anything with my thumb being kind of messed up. So the idea of this is that this Marine was fighting a massive Tyranid attack and just they bested him, didn't make it, and now his soul is going back to the Emperor. So lots of scratches from talons. I've actually I drilled in some holes. Let's see. Here and there from some shots. I don't know what Tyranids do, if they shoot anything or spit something, but actually I've seen some of their bigger models have like these gun looking things, so whatever that is, I'd imagine they got shot up with, unless, I mean, it could have been like some kind of multi-attack, so it could have been Tyranids and maybe some Chaos Marines or cultists or what are those guys called? My mind's blanking. Gene Stealer Cult. Wow, that took way too long to remember. Gene Stealer Cult. So yeah, it could have been something like that. Just gonna tear up this pauldron. I feel like it's a sin to be doing this to a Deathwatch pauldron, but 'tis for art. There we go. Get it all nice and battle worn, and then once I prime it and then do some dry brushing and washing, I think it'll all come together. So I think I'm at a place to where I can start figuring out where this is gonna go on the base. The tricky part is trying to decide how you want all the pieces arranged, you know, with this Marine just being wrecked. I actually, you know, I think I like it like that, because then I can have, I don't know, I'm gonna mix green stuff. This is going to be really, really tricky. I'll have to mix it like this. Yeah, then I can have the entrails kind of spewing out from there. So we're going to move here. Okay, and then with this in the center, I think that'll be pretty good. This would probably be better if I placed it with green stuff, but I don't want to have to wait for green stuff to dry all day. And I know I'm definitely going to have to wait for it to dry a little later, once I add in the entrails and all the other stuff. So, but I'm gonna have to be a little limited with the amount of green stuff that I use because my thumb is messed up. So yeah, we'll just have to see. There we go. All right. That is a fallen Marine if I've ever seen one. Perfect. So with that all set, Jesus Christ, you hear that car? Okay. Let me make sure that I can glue this onto here, which it looks like that'll be just fine. And now it's about time to start working on this guy. So let's see. How can I do this without chopping my finger off? So next thing I have to do is get these arms off. Well, that one just snapped right off. I did soak it last night in some warm water and warm water, soap, and then Lysol spray. So I don't know if that helped or did damage this thing or what. All right, so with this model, I want the legs and arms kicked back. And I think while I was digging through my bits, yeah, I found these arms right here. So not holding on to any weapons, more just falling back behind him. Dang it. Hold on. There we go. Just arms back and the legs kicked back. So since the arms are detached, this is going to be really easy. I can just glue these on however I want them. Now the legs are going to be tricky. The legs are definitely going to be tricky. So what I'll have to do with those, I'll have to cut the legs off, bend them backwards. But that is going to be tough because the gun right here is stuck on. So I don't know, this is tricky. Thanks a lot, Minimal Tabletop. You made my Saturday kind of chaotic over here. I got my finger chopped off and trying to get this figured out. Well, you know what? In the meantime, before I get into all that, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this base so it has time to dry. All right, so I'm not gonna go overboard with this base, but I think I got it about done. Got a skull over here, a little skull over here, the body there, and then the green stuff, entrail situation, I'm gonna pack into this cavity right here with the chest and have it spewing out. So I'll have to figure out how to get that going. I was thinking about adding this servo skull in there, but that might be overboard. So I think I'm gonna leave that out, but in the meantime, just as planned, I'm gonna leave that to the side and let that dry. And I'm gonna come back over here and take care of this. Now, hopefully I can get a decently clean cut and not have to worry about doing a lot of work with green stuff, because I think it's gonna be very difficult for me to work with green stuff with my finger being messed up. So I wanna use as little of it as I can. And I think that was fairly clean, I think. It looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty solid. So let's check out these legs, see what's going on. Make sure I grab the right ones. Okay, bolts are there, here, yeah. So, yeah, all of that stayed on pretty good. That looks solid to me. All right, so I think it's time for some green stuff. Try to get those legs taken care of. And now, before that, I'm gonna drill right into the back, get this stick in so that when the green stuff's drying, it can dry standing up, because I think with the legs hanging down, the green stuff on there, it's gonna pull right off and I'll keep having to reapply it. So probably gonna drill next right here, if you can see, right into the lower part of the back. And yeah, get that. Oh, there we go. The paint is so damaged and coming off, you could just make a perfect little mark for where I want to drill and go from there.
It was time to get the Ghost Marine put together, so I started this off by drilling a small hole in his back so I could later insert a flyer rod to make him look like he's floating. I next glued on some arms that I found in my bits bag. I can't remember what these went to, but they were perfect for the look I was going for and saved me from having to chop up and straighten out his original arms. The legs were a bit tricky. I couldn't get the chopped legs to look natural, so I kept having to sand and dry fit. And once the look was just right, I applied some green stuff and gave it time to harden. I know that it's really weird to jump from unprimed modeling to an almost complete model, but let me explain. Part of this challenge was to live stream your progress, so after I made some intestines out of green stuff and primed everything, I began painting on Instagram. An hour later, and I ended up making a ton more progress than I expected. So if you want to see how I painted the base, please check out the link to my Instagram page below. So with the intestines painted with pink horror, I decided to cover them and the ripped limbs with blood for the blood god. With everything covered, I applied some of the technical to my brush and flicked it with my thumb to create a blood splatter effect on the base.
All right, so the base is all set. Completely done. I've got all the entrails out. Everything's bloody and nasty. And now I'm just finishing up the white base coat for this ghost. So as soon as this thing is completely done and no more of the gray primer is showing, I wish I just had white primer because it would have made this so much easier. But I did not have white primer, and gray was the closest thing that I had. So once this is all set, I'm going to go ahead and give this a good wash in some thin down Tesseract Glow. And that should seep into all the recesses, give it a nice ghostly look. And then I'm going to glaze over it with some more white, just in the spots that are kind of raised. So for instance, the head right here on the helmet, this is going to be glazed over with white, whereas the recesses on the sides are going to be that green glow. So I think it's going to work out pretty good once it's all set. And yeah, we'll just have to see what happens.
Now I do apologize for this garbage footage. I had no idea that my camera was out of focus. I was a bit nervous when I started applying the Tesseract Glow because even after watering it down, it was way more pigmented than I expected. Once I added a bit more water and applied less to my brush, everything sort of worked out fine. With the model now nice and green, I watered down some white scar and started covering a majority of the armor. If you'd like to try this on one of your models, be sure to avoid any creases and recesses as we want the Tesseract Glow to remain visible. Once an area dried, I went over it again with another layer of white scar, this time focusing on any raised areas. This led to a smooth transition between the green and the white.
All right, so with the green all down, the Tesseract glow, and then going back over it with the white scar, everything is just about done. But what I'm gonna do to darken some of these recesses is I'm going back with some more Tesseract glow, and I'm just getting into any of the creases of the armor, anywhere where shadows would be, and just adding a little more of the Tesseract glow. So for instance, along the inside of this pauldron right here, gonna go ahead and add an extra line, and right here along this side as well. And this will really just help everything pop. And also by making everything lighter with the white scar, there are some areas that are kind of like fuzzy, I guess you can put it that way. So we want to just make these hard lines again to make the armor look like it's glowing. Then I'm going to go back again with the white scar for one last time. Again, nice and thin. I think that's the way to go with making this look like a ghost. And just going to hit these large areas that shouldn't have any shadows. So I'm also going to do the fingers. There we go, it's looking better. Yeah, any of these large areas, like part of the hand. And yep, shouldn't take much longer, and then I'll be done. And I officially hit stop after like almost 10 hours of working on this. It is complete. That is a Space Marine being called back to the Emperor. You know, it wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult to do than it was, but it really wasn't. I had a blast doing it. It wasn't that hard to do, and I love it. I love it so much. So I can't wait to see what Minimal Tabletop put together, and yeah, this is a blast.
Now let's see what Minimal Tabletop put together. Now I'd love to give a massive shout out to my patrons, and before I name them, I need to refer to a list because I did lose a few, but I gained a handful of new ones. So a huge shout out, and I promise next week I'll have these memorized. Huge shout out to my patrons: Leandris Che Phillip, The Dark Path, Came From the Moon, $2 Sucky Sucky, Betty G, Griffin, and Livetum FNV. Thank you all so very much for your support. It means the absolute world to me. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I know that the content hasn't been as regular as it was before I was working, but now I'm making money, which is awesome. Now with this job, I can actually put a decent amount of money into these videos and just into this hobby. So that means new models, that means better equipment, that means better editing. So, you know, there's a give and take here, but I promise you, these videos aren't stopping. They're not going away. And they might take a little longer, but they're going to keep coming. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to check out more of my work, please check out the link down low to my Instagram, because that's where I post most of my updates. And if you want to become a patron and help support the channel, I have a link to my Patreon down low. And if you just want to hang out, talk about the hobby, there's also a link to my Discord down low too. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this and not freak out my cat. Okay. Now wash your brushes. Clean your paint. Now wash your brushes, clean your paint pots, and keep on painting.